I met Anthony when I was in the second grade. We were assigned to the same tables together and we instantly hit it off. We had so much in common with each other. We both loved Legos, drawing, video games, the list could go on and on. We would hang out almost every day after school. He would come over and we would play video games for hours, and when we were done we would play Legos. As we got older, Anthony became like a protector for me. I was a skinny kid who would get picked on all the time by the older kids, but Anthony would always come to my rescue and scare them off with his size. Anthony was a huge kid. By the time we got to middle school he was 6'4" and weighed over 200 pounds. No one would mess with Anthony and they knew he was my best friend, so they wouldn't dare mess with me either. Even though Anthony seemed intimidating, he really was a nice guy. Anthony never liked how big he was because he always felt out of place around school and at home. Anthony's parents were not tall in the slightest. His mom was 5'2" and his dad was 5'8". His mom was especially nice to me. She would always bake me cookies when I came over to their house, while Anthony's dad was a whole other story. He scared me. He may not have been super tall, but he made that up with his size. He was a big guy with huge shoulders and big arms. He never talked to me much, but when he did he spoke in this low, rough voice that sounded that he had just woken up. One thing I picked up quickly on Anthony was he never ate meat. The first time he came over for dinner we had steak, which he refused to eat. "I don't like meat, can I just have the salad and potatoes?" I thought it was odd at first, but that was because I didn't know about vegetarians and vegans. When I went to his house though, his freezer had a bunch of meat. Chicken, turkey, pork, etc. I asked him about it when we were playing on his computer in his room. He was quiet at first, then said, "All that meat in the freezer is for my parents, they love it unlike me." When we got older I asked him if he was a vegetarian and his answer was a bit odd. "Yeah, something like that, what else could he be?" I thought. My thoughts on this though died out as we got older. When we got into high school I started to notice changes with Anthony. He got into lots of fights and suspensions. The older kids picked on him a lot, and when he tried to fight back, they would gang up on him and beat him to a bloody pulp. He would frequently have black eyes when I came over, and I would always ask why he felt he needed to fight. He never gave an answer though. He would always try to talk about something else if I asked. At this point I was getting bullied a lot too, but unlike Anthony, the first didn't care what they said. I would just ignore them and they would eventually leave me alone. Another important detail I picked up on early was his basement. I went in only once and it just seemed off. It was huge for a basement, a big open area with only a couple fridges full of more meat and some ice. Most of the time the basement was locked. Seemed odd, but I didn't care for it after a while. One day though, one of the guys who usually beat up and picked on Anthony disappeared from school. His name was Tommy and he was kind of the ringleader to the group that would beat up Anthony regularly. At first no one paid attention when he wasn't at school for a couple days, but then the days turned to weeks and the weeks turned to months. Missing posters of Tommy started to show up around the school and rumors started to spread. People believed Anthony had something to do with the kidnapping, but I didn't believe any of those rumors. I knew my best friend would never do anything truly bad to Tommy. He isn't like that. He wouldn't, would he? I did start to have my doubts, but when I asked Anthony he swore on his mother's life he didn't do anything to him. Months and months went by with the police searching for Tommy, but they couldn't find him. Eventually they gave up on the search. Everyone seemed to forget about Tommy, but I didn't. Anthony seemed in a better mood when they gave up the search. I started to grow suspicious. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I thought deep down that Anthony did something to Tommy. I tried talking to Anthony about Tommy, but he would get pissed every time I did, accusing me of believing the rumors at school and asking me how I couldn't believe his best friend. I stopped asking shortly after that and I just forgot about Tommy shortly after. As time went on, high school got better for me and Anthony. Anthony started to play football and he became really good as a linebacker. He even started to get a couple scholarships from some big colleges. I didn't do any sports, but I met a wonderful girl named Vanessa who would eventually become my wife. Vanessa was wonderful. She was an average height girl with long red hair and bright blue eyes. She was perfect for me. We both loved books, writing, and movies. I would come over a lot and we would cuddle as we watched a romantic movie. Romance was our favorite genre in writing and movies. The only problem was that Vanessa did not like Anthony at all. When we were at her house one night in her room, I asked why she didn't like Anthony and she said, "He's creepy, Josh, plus didn't he do something to a kid like a year ago at our school? He didn't do anything, he isn't like that. Sure, he may have beat him up possibly, but he wouldn't kidnap him or kill him, that's not who he is." I said, "How do you know though, Josh? He may have promised you he didn't do anything, but anyone can lie when they're desperate."